Welcome back to another episode of Envision the Sweet Life. My name is Envision Speaks, and this is.
Chanel Sweets.
And as you all can see, we have a beautiful guest with us here today. I'm so excited to have you here, Samantha A. Welcome to our podcast. I would love to introduce our audience to Samantha. She is a holistic life coach. She's going to be coming in with beautiful insight, and we can't wait for you to hear it. But before we get into that, how about Samantha A? You tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me on this podcast. I feel so blessed and so honored to join you all this morning. As they mentioned, I go by Samantha A, and I am a holistic life coach. And basically, when we talk about holistic living, it hits a whole spectrum of life. So holistic, you can think of it as holistic, like the whole,
Very
right?
much so.
Yeah, so this includes spiritually, mentally, socially, financially, and financially. Did I say them all? It's 5. Spiritually, mentally, physically, financially, and socially. Yes. And what I do is to kind of understand that in a simple term, is I help people to get that life or live that dream life, that life they've always felt like they were born to live. It's that life
Mhm.
of living the highest potential, fulfilling like your inner self to the fullest.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that 100%. And I believe that obviously taking care of your whole self, right? Holistic living is very essential and very important. So I guess we're gonna break down into some of those dynamics here today. And first, what I want to ask you before we get rolling, how did you get into life coaching? What drove you to this area?
Yeah, wow. So to try to narrow it down, because there's so many different aspects within my life that has gotten me to this particular area, but to narrow it down, um, I first of all, I am a Christian, and I believe in the Bible, and I believe in Jesus Christ, and I believe that is God. And I have grown up in a Christian household, grown up knowing about God. And I truly believe that within the path of knowing God, having a personal relationship with God, it's led me to the understanding of living purpose. And what is
Mhm.
purpose? Well, purpose is basically living that life that God has placed us here on the earth to live. And when you're fulfilling your purpose, that means all areas of life has to be grounded. So that's why, the spiritual, the mental, physical, financial, social, it all has to be grounded, because with any of those pieces missing, the purpose, full purpose, cannot be fulfilled. And so, being raised in a Christian household, I've always had that understanding. And growing up, I've run into several trials and tribulations, and God has shown me how to get out of those tribulations with him, and has led me to fully understanding my purpose after going through those tribulations. And that's just to put it into short terms.
Definitely, I feel you on that. It sounds like you're walking into that calling, huh?
Exactly, the calling. Exactly. Hmm.
So she definitely understood the assignment, guys. Okay, she's understanding God's calling on her life. Okay, yes, yes. But I definitely know. I believe, and I'm very so similar to you as well. I'm a life coach myself. I call myself a transformational coach, and I am Christian based as well, spiritually grounded. I believe God will show you the way, and I believe He's going to show you through trusting your inner intuition. God gives us signals all the time. So if you ask me that, that's my belief as well. And the spirit lives within us. And I believe that trusting your inner voice is connecting with God himself. So let's talk a little bit about listening to your inner voice. One, would you agree with that statement that I said?
Oh, absolutely. Like listening to your inner voice is so important because really, if it's the inner voice, most likely it's the voice of God because God
Amen.
speaks through us through that what people call inner small voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so glad that you brought this up because one thing that I have taught people is that one of the biggest mistakes people make is not listening to that voice. A lot of times, God tries to show us the direction that He wants us to go by that little small voice, right? In the
Mm-hmm.
Christian community, we've heard of the small voice of God or the, I don't see it as small. It's more so
Huge. Yes.
Yes, it's intimate. And I believe God makes it intimate to us individually because it's kind of like he's hiding it. And what I mean is, it's like if God was to say out loud, like, my name is Samantha. So, Samantha, you need to do this. And everyone's going to be like, what? What did
Right.
he tell her she's going to do? And what is all the evil forces going to do? It's going to be like, oh, no, we're going to go and stop that, right? So
Absolutely.
I believe that one of the reasons why God speaks intimately within us is to kind of guard the planted seed that he's putting within us to go and live out. So, for example, I tell people all the time, a lot of times that voice comes in those small thoughts that come in and out, or those ideas like, oh, I had that idea. What's that? Or it's like that inner feeling like I should do this. It's a thought. You might not hear the letters from the thought or the words from the thought, but it's that umph, that feeling. Like I call it a quickening. Like God's spirit is like moving you to do something, right?
Absolutely.
And a lot of times, the biggest mistake people make is they just ignore that because
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
subtle that it's easy to just be like, like it goes in and out and that's it, and you forget about it. But it should be different. Like the reaction should be completely opposite. It should be more like, oh, what was that? Like earthquake, like ding,
Absolutely.
what was that? Pay attention. Red flag, down, down, down. you
Right.
know,
Hello. Hello. Listen up. The Lord is speaking to you.
Yes.
So
So
I have
I'm
a
so glad that
question.
you brought that up, and it's key to really take those thoughts seriously. And then the next thing is to take action.
Absolutely.
We can know something all we want to, but if we never take action, it doesn't come alive. The Bible mentions faith without works is dead. And a part of that faith is those thoughts that God put in you, that moving. And what makes that faith come alive is when we act on it.
Absolutely. It's like, for instance, and I know you got a question, Chanel, but I know it's like literally trying to plant a seed. You might have something that will gain fruit, right? You got a seed here in your hand, but until you put it into the soil and that you take care of it and you begin to nurture it and water it and give it the proper sunlight, it won't grow. So we do have to put that work behind it in order to receive that fruit. So 100% I agree with you that faith without works is dead. So, and you have to notice that you have this gift, this jewel, even if it starts off so small, like a seed, in your hand to plant, because God will give you signals all the time. And most likely, He's going to make them very personal, as you stated.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so my question was, so I know you and I talked a little bit about this when I was on your podcast, but for someone like me, so bringing it very personal, people's like, oh, follow your intuition. And so I'm somebody who my intuition is telling me to do a million different things, and Envision speaks, I mean, she gives me so much great advice. but there's probably a lot of people like me that we see all the things in the world happening for all these other people, and we are, I call myself like a Jane of all trades. Like we can do a million different things, but we're not really sure what is our purpose. You know, like we are in limbo, so to speak. Like maybe there is a voice screaming at us, but we hear, 10 different things from that voice, and we're like, okay, we need to do them all, but that's not realistic. What advice could you give somebody who need to like kind of hone in on one thing, or listen to all of them? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's a very great question, because living by faith doesn't mean doing everything that comes to your mind. So I'm glad that you asked this. So yes, we do get different, voices in our head. It's a voice saying, do this, and then it's another voice saying, do that. And I know in the Bible it mentions, there is a path that seems right, but it leads to destruction. So if we know that there is this other path that can lead to destruction, that lets us know that there is a right voice and a wrong voice. So really that comes to, and personally, this is what I believe. I believe that comes with experience. And the first experience should be that walk with God. And what does that walk with God looks like? Well, it looks like, first of all, going to God and saying, "Who are you, God?" Because if we know who God is, then we know who we are, right? He begins to show us who we are in God. So, who are you, God? And what is it that you place me here to do? What, what direction are you leading me? First is that seeking, asking, the principle of knock and find, right?
Mhm.
And then as a person continues to knock and find, seek, and ask, then those answers start to come, because God is a good God. He's not just gonna like listen to us asking and seeking and not answer us. He says, no, seek and you'll find. So at some point within that seeking, there's gonna be answers. So then it's gonna be different answers coming up, and God will begin to show you, particularly like, when I heard this in my mind, I felt like a loving way about it. I felt moved to do it. I felt passionate about it. And then you might get another thought, and it brings anxiety, confusion, chaos, right? So I call it like the fruit of the spirit allows us to know which way we should go, because there's a peace in it. The word of God says that God is a God of peace. So we know that if we feel peace about a certain situation more than another situation, we should probably go towards the direction that's more peaceful to us. Now, back to my point when I said there are times when things seem right and it leads to destruction. So, how can we differentiate between those things that seem right and the things that don't? That's where knowledge comes in, that's where truth comes in. So, it's important for us to um gain knowledge, I say, first of the word of God, but then knowledge about those things that we think about. So for example, if we find ourselves having a passion about, I know we talked about ice skating before, so let's say it's ice skating, right? And we find, oh, we have a passion about ice skating. Well, what knowledge can I gain about ice skating? What type of exercises do I need to do to be fit for ice skating? What type of shoes do I need? What type of attire should I wear, right? And the more knowledge we gain about those things that pique our interest, we start to know what to do because of the knowledge.
Mhm.
So for example, we know we're not going to wear hockey skates if we're doing figure skating, right? Those are two different skates that doesn't do the same result. So
Mhm.
after seeking and finding, and God starts to move you in a direction, then get the knowledge about the direction that you're being moved to. And then once you start to get that knowledge, it opens this door of opportunity for more instruction and more direction. And that's how usually faith is. That's how the leading of a path usually goes. It starts with going to God, and then God gives you like he's entrusting you, right? Like, okay, you coming to me, you asking me, here you go, boom. What are you gonna do with that? Right?
Right.
And then you
Mhm.
start to nurture that, and then you follow that path, you follow that direction, and then more doors open, and then you
I
follow that path, and you follow peace, you follow the things that feel right, right? You
Mhm.
don't
right.
follow the things that are chaotic and make you feel scared and crazy and stuff like that.
Right. And I would agree with that to a certain, obviously for a degree. I believe that, obviously God wants to communicate with us. He wants that intimate and personal relationship with us. And as you continue to seek further understanding of him and that desire to be like, it's like what you when you have a friend or a loved one or a partner, if you have an interest in something, you're constantly, hey, what's going on? I'm just thinking of you, yada yada yada. Oh, I want to let you know how my day is. God wants that personal relationship with you. And he communicates back with you through the spirit. He's going to comfort you. He's your protector. He's your provider. So he's here to assist you throughout this journey. Your path has already been laid out for you. Are you willing? Are you able? Are you available? He's waiting for us to walk into our path. And I believe that it's important to have the foundation, which is that personal relationship with your creator, in order for him to lay out the path for you. I mean, the path is already laid. He just wants you to walk into the steps. And I know for me, like, I can give a prime example of how this transpired in my personal life and my personal journey. I worked at Bank of America. We talked about this, I believe, at one point in time in a podcast. And I was just living life. It was comfortable, but it wasn't calling. It wasn't purpose. It wasn't fulfillment. And I didn't have clear understanding at the time being what that was. So I can completely relate to where you are or other people in the audience may be at in their
Mhm.
life. But I got a signal, and God uses other people sometimes as well. My cousin came to me and she was telling me, I see that you lost that drive. And I'm like, what you mean? I go to work every day. I make great money. Like, what? How have I lost the drive? Like, I came out of college making good money. And so I was, but she saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself. And sometimes God uses other vessels to bring awareness to you as well. So, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
know the difference in
Mhm.
feelings inside yourself when it is God sent as well. So I was piqued. My interest, my curiosity was there, and so I listened to her, and that led me to watch a movie which is called The Secret. It changed my life 100%.
Mm-hmm.
It is biblical based as well, but it does not come off pushing. So if you're not Christian,
Mm-hmm.
I still advise for you to watch it. There is a book as well about it. And then from watching that video, it's about thoughts becoming things. And I had just this inner feeling inside of myself. That thing that she said was missing, it came upon me after watching it. And then I literally was like, man, what would I do, if I didn't have anything else to do? Like, if time and money were of no value, what would I really want to explore? And I started just writing them down one by one, one by one. I mean, from leisure to relationships to career to business. I mean, I was just flowing and going. I was pumped up and fired up. So it was the start of that journey of me listening to God. And if you let it be dormant, your thoughts become dormant. You're not going to see any fruit from it. But I took
Mhm.
action, as you stated before, Samantha A. I ended up taking action right away after the video, and I continued to take action. So I started to explore. Hey, I've always been an athlete. That Chanel and a lot of our audience does at this point as well. So I was like, either I can be like a massage. I wanted to get back into, like, physical health and the health space. So my degree is in health and society, minor in psychology, but I'm working at a banking center. That tells
Mm,
me something in the first place right there. Like,
yeah.
clearly at some point in time, I put the dedication and time towards this, but here I am comfortable in what another option that was presented to me, that may
Mm-hmm.
be good, but not purpose filled, not purposeful. So,
Mhm.
I ended up getting to a space where I was like, massage therapy or personal trainer. And I did research. First thing I did was went on Google. Google is your best friend. Well, how do I start with that? How much does it cost? Yada, yada, yada. And it led me down, as people like to call, a rabbit hole, but it started to open up the path and steps for me to take. I made a decision. You got to be assertive enough, and trust your inner intuition to know that, hey, I believe this is the best path for me now. So I had still another choice to make, massage therapy or personal trainer. And I went into the personal training aspect. Now, as I was a personal trainer, as we talked about on previous podcasts, people were telling me, because I'm very caring and I'm very loving and I'm very invested into helping other people grow and become better people, I'm getting involved with people's businesses, personal lives, because I'm just a friend of man. So as I was helping people get their physical health in order, I was helping them get their mental health in order, their financial health in order, getting them in tune with what it was that they wanted within themselves, which led me into my purpose, which is life coaching. They're like, man, you're transforming my life. So I just had to take heed to what people were saying. And I
Mhm.
walked into my calling, and I realized that it was my calling because it's the thing that I can do without any payment. It's what I enjoy doing. It brings joy to my soul, my spirit, without a single dime given to me.
Mhm.
Now, when I started this journey, I had no clue where I was going to end up. But as I continue to seek information, seek understanding, ask God for clarity, and trust myself, trust my inner intuition, the path was already laid for me. I just have to step
Mhm.
into it. So that's a prime example personally for how I got to my purpose. And I'm sure God's going to continue to add on to my plate as well. So there is more to live, there's more to experience. And as long as you're here, you're going to have purpose. And I just believe it's in trusting yourself that you are truly going to be able to find what it is purpose. And along the way, if you make wrong mistakes or make wrong decisions, God's going to try to redirect you to what purpose is as well. So just ask, and also seek him to ask for discernment. I'm constantly asking him to, hey, am I doing the right thing? If this is for me, let me know, give me a sign, have that intimate relationship along the journey. And if you have questions, ask them. God wants to be your friend, and he will continue to open up the doors and give you the understanding internally and give you external signs from other people that you are doing as you're supposed to be doing in the season.
Yes, and I just want to um, piggyback off of something that you said that I think is very, very important, because this is another thing that I noticed that kind of makes people stuck. And you said you followed the path, but you didn't know where you were
Mm-hmm.
going.
Exactly.
You didn't know.
At all.
It's just like in the Bible, it mentions how God told Abraham, go into this place, leave your family and your friends behind, go to this land that I'm showing you. He had no idea where he was going.
Or what
All
was
he
in store
did
for him.
was, yes, he was so intimate with God that he just trusted God that, he told me to do this. I'm just going to go. I have no idea what I'm going to face, where I'm going to go, but out of the trust and relationship that he had with God, he just went. And
Right.
that's another thing that I have seen that a lot of people have made a mistake at, and that is the fear of the unknown. Like they get stuck because, man, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, okay, I'm going here, but then what? Like they want to know, when I get there, then what? Right?
Exactly.
And for
Mm-hmm.
the most part, you guys, you're not going to know. Okay? So the most important thing is just to act on what is the move, right? So if you have that idea, like, I should have this event, right? I want to do an event to reach out to the community. Just do it.
Right.
Like if you know that this is a move, like, I don't know what's gonna come of it, or I don't know how it's gonna turn out, but I believe God is really moving me, and every time I think about it, my spirit is like, I gotta get this out, gotta get it out.
Right.
Just do it, because it's for God to show you what he's gonna do, not for you to already know, like, oh, when this happens, then this will happen. No, 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 no. When you take that first walk, that shows God, okay, I'm here. I heard you. I'm just going to act and follow you. That's when God will surprise you. It's a
Mm-hmm.
surprise. When you get there, then you're just going to see these doors open, open. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, I had no idea, Lord.
One
Right?
hundred percent, 100%. And I think
Yeah.
also, as you stated, the key is, and I know that fear of the unknown. Well, what if I do this wrong? What if it's not the
Mhm.
way? What about the repercussions? What about the responsibility? What if it doesn't work? Um, it's good to have those thoughts. God provides us also that fear to protect us. Our body naturally, obviously, wants to be protected. So we're gonna do things, or once we, like once you put your hand on, the eye as a little kid, you're not ever gonna touch that eye again to burn yourself. But that doesn't mean that God wants you to stop cooking. Does that make sense? So like
Mhm.
you're supposed to be aware, and that's why it's so important to have understanding and clarity about your inner voice and learning how to discern the different thoughts that you're having, but also understand that your body is meant to protect itself. So sometimes that fear will hold you up and hinder you and stagnate you. And I believe that as you continue to walk throughout your path, it's going to, even if you're going in the wrong direction, he will then redirect you. So don't be afraid to do something that you haven't done before. And if it's truly something that you think about often, I know that once I get 2, 3 signals, I already know it's God sent at that point. I'm like, okay, if I heard
Mhm.
it once and it's brought back to my spirit again, then I see it again. And then somebody's told me something about myself and it correlated to exactly what my thoughts was before. That's God sent. Girl, jump. Because he's always, always, always trying to lead you where you're supposed to go. So sometimes we be like, that's just me. Oh, that was just a childhood dream. No, that's God telling
Yeah.
you, you still have time. As long as you have breath in your body, he still wants to use you. So I believe that, and I believe that also, I know that it's not necessarily always just that one thing. As
Mhm.
showed you, one thing led me to another thing that led me to another thing, and he expected for me to go through all those steps. So sometimes, yeah, you might have 5 different things going on, personal trainer, motivational speaker, author at this point. Most people that are successful has 7 different streams of income, and it's not just about the money. But the thing is understanding that he doesn't intend for you just to have one great aspect about you, one great contribution in your life. He maybe everything that you have going on in your mind is things that you're supposed to be doing. It's just putting them in chronological order so that you can
Mhm.
bam, bang, 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 climb up to the
Mhm.
staircase. And sometimes maybe, hey, I tried this. Not yet. Okay, he wants you to slide this here, but you did this first. That's okay. He's gonna still get you back on that same path so that you can take those steps up. So I don't think it's that one thing that you're supposed to be seeking, but just have faith in what your inner spirit is leading you to go towards to where you're going.
Yes, and then the thing that I want people to understand is that a lot of this is done for our protection, you guys. Like when God hides the seed in us, it's for the protection of the seed, it's for the protection of the calling. When you don't know where you're going, it's for the protection. Because let's say God tells you, okay, this is what's going to happen, right? And then we go and we be like, God is taking me here, y'all. Look.
Right.
And then people who don't like to hear it, then what?
They'll shut it
Right?
down or try
Mhm.
to distract you,
Come
whatever.
on, come on,
Come
come
on now.
on.
It's a lot of different things. Or yourself. Everything that God, let you know this too. Everything that God gives you and gifts you, it may come with some trials and tribulations along the journey too. So if you know the
Mhm.
hurdles that you have to climb to get to that final destination, sometimes you're like, nah, God, I ain't trying to do that. So he might show you exactly what it is that you are going to have, or he might put it in your spirit that, hey, I expect, you're going to be one of the greatest to do this, or you're going to lead a nation, or whatever the case may be. You're going to be the
Mhm.
one that inspires children. You're going to be the one that's in there, changing the minds of many, whatever it is, like, whatever God put in you, to do, you're going to know that it's connected to who you are, you know, what it is that you enjoy. You're going to have some kind of inclination. And sometimes you'll even have physical body reactions. You might have the hair stand up
Mm-hmm.
on your arms when you're talking about it. You might realize that your voice gets in flux when you talk about this thing passionately. You might
Mm-hmm.
realize that you can go on and on and on and on and on about whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is that God put in you to do. So those are some signals to show you that that is really truly led towards purpose. It may not even be exactly what your purpose is, but that will lead you to your purpose when you have those different signals. And I know that if he showed me some of the things that I would have had to endure from the beginning, I'm like, oh
Oh,
God, I think this
oh,
Bank of America dream right here is just fine for
oh,
me right now. Okay. So
oh.
sometimes it's for our protection that he doesn't tell us, hey, this is exactly what you're going to do step by step by step by step, because you may be fearful or don't think that you have the strength to endure, but God will provide. He is your strength. You know, he will provide you the strength within you. So you'll be surprised at what you can endure or what you can conquer or what you can overcome or along the journey. You know, like for instance, like my mom, you know, her pain led her to her purpose. My mother is a drug rehabilitation counselor, but for 15 years of my life, my childhood, she was a drug addict. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? But now here she is, she goes around the world and she speaks all, her whole life, and I hate to say it, as her whole life was when she was in the streets, was about drugs. Her whole life now and purpose is about drugs, you know, whether she
mm,
has, you know, so she has all these people that, you know, her sponsees. Oh my God, my mom has so many sponsees. She goes and speaks after work, goes to different, you know, NA and AA meetings to speak every single day. She attends 2 to 3 NA meetings a day. And it's been
mm,
over 13 years that she's been clean at this point. Still invested because she realized how much trauma has been caused, not only for herself, her family, but also that it's still going on in other people's lives. And she wants to be a part of
mhm,
that change and that shift and that movement. And her actual
mhm.
9 to 5 is a drug rehabilitation counselor. She moved to a whole nother
That's
state
awesome.
and to be a counselor. So it's such sacrifices that she was willing to make because she realized that this is something that she is so passionate about. So sometimes your pain, I mean, your purpose may be wrapped up in some of your pain or your struggles or your trials or your
Mhm.
tribulations, and that you can become a contributing factor to it as well. But if she did not experience that pain, that struggle, that trauma, that drama that, you know, she went through for all those years, she wouldn't be so purposeful. She wouldn't be so purpose filled right now in the season of her life. So you got to
Well
go through
said.
the journey. Yeah, you got to go through the journey.
Well said. And you're absolutely right. I think about Joseph in the Bible. You know, God gave him a dream when, you know, he was with his brothers and, you know, younger, you know, the youngest brother. And of course, you know, you have older brothers are like, what? You know, the Bible says they hated him for his dream and for his words. So they hated the fact that he had the dream and that he spoke about the dream. And he, like,
Mm-hmm.
everything that comes from it, right? And he turned out to be, you know, the one they tried to kill, but then wound up selling off. But it all turned around to be for the purpose, which the greatest purpose was to bring salvation. It was
Mm-hmm.
to save people from being killed by a famine that came later on. And God used Joseph for that. And yes, a lot of the tribulations that we do go through is a part of the leading to our purpose. I think about myself, and I went through a trauma in 2011. And I've always been a person that is a go getter, dream chaser, you know, faith walker, right?
Right.
And, you know, at that time, I was trying to get into entertainment, and I still have a passion for music and art and um, drama and things like that. But now I would use it in a different way, and I go about that path in a different way. But at that time, I, you know, was not knowledgeable, right? about a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things because I mentioned before, the knowledge kind of helps you to know what you should do. But I wasn't very knowledgeable. I had, my ideas of what I wanted to do, but I didn't know about, the entertainment business or just business at all. I didn't know about, a lot of things. And I wound up getting involved with a company or an agency that said that, basically making promises to help me and others fulfill our dreams. Well, we wound up giving our money, but not getting the result,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it led me, I was like, I believe 21 at that time. And, I was still fairly young and naive and just excited to get my dreams out, but at the same time being preyed on and being used, right?
Right.
And it just led me down this very despicable path. Like I wound up living in my car because one of the people from the agencies, they gave an excuse, but I thought it was their word, right? I was used to living around people that when you give your word, you honor it, right? But
Right.
that was my surprise. Everybody isn't like that. So they said, hey, move out here to California and, we'll help you. Right now you're living, because, I live in Houston, Texas. Right now you're in Houston, Texas. We can't help you. Come out here. We can help you. Well, me, I'm all in. I'm like, okay, I'm
I'm on
coming.
the way. Yeah.
I'm on the way. Yes. And I get there and they don't even return my phone calls. Right.
Wow.
So I wound up living in a hotel at first and then to a car, homeless. And so much comes with that. When you're homeless, everything becomes a job. Brushing your teeth becomes a job. Using the restroom becomes a job. Eating becomes a job. Like everything becomes very, very hard. And it got to the point where I broke down to where I was malnutritioned, right? So that
Mm-hmm.
leads to like the brain not being able to really function. And I lost a lot of mental capacity. And I tell people all the time that it was to the point where I lost my mind to where I forgot English. And English is my first language, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot how to communicate. I remember sitting around people and thinking like, what do I say? How do I say it? Like I just could not, like my mind was so degraded that I couldn't get my motor skills to work for me.
Right.
So at some point, I got really, really sick, and because I'm diagnosed with sickle cell anemia. And for those of you who may not really know about sickle cell anemia, it's like a blood disease, and it could cause like really bad pain crises. So I was going through pain crises, and when you're dealing with pain, like it's terrible. So I had to
Right.
wind up going home to get the help that I needed to deal with the pain and get the crises down. But that led me down this journey of first having to allow God to rebuild me again mentally and spiritually. I was always very spiritually, um, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like
Sound.
sound and um, I'm thinking of a word intimate, but that's not it. It's sensitive.
Okay.
Sensitive. I've always been very spiritually sensitive, but I had gotten to a place where I thought if I just go back home to my regular home church, I'll feel God again. And you guys, I did not feel God.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, oh, I have really gone low. I really gone low. And the journey of being able to feel again, to be able to think again, to be able to know what to speak again, all of that, it was a process. But it was a hard process, but I thank God for the process, because at the same time, the Bible mentions in our weakness God is strong, his grace is enough. And that became alive to me. Like I was so weak, but that's when God began to show me like more of himself that I ever knew before spiritually. And even to the point where I experienced miracles, wonders, signs, things I never even like really wanted as a young believer. I didn't really care for miracles. That might seem weird because people like miracles, right? They like to see the
Right.
supernatural. But I just wanted to live my life. Like I didn't really care about miracles, signs, and wonders. But that was the point when God be able to, show me like, Samantha, there's so much more. You were trying to seek this over here, but there is so much more. Life is so much more. Your
Right.
purpose is so much more. And it for me, that was one of the experiences that allowed me to begin to have to be humble enough to allow God to show me, like, no, Samantha, look, this is what I have for you here.
Right.
And so you're so right. A lot of times our trials and our tribulation is used by God to drive us to where we're supposed to be.
Absolutely, 100%. Now, listen, Samantha, I will say this has been a phenomenal conversation here today. We're going to have you back here on this podcast. I'm telling you, I feel like didn't we just start? I feel like I'm
Yeah.
looking at the clock like I felt like we're not 5 minutes in, guys. But yes, it's been a pleasure to have you on our podcast today. We're definitely going to have you back for a part 2, part 3, maybe part 7. Who knows, Lord? You know, God
Yeah.
says 7 is the number of completion now. I don't know. We might have to
There
bring
we
you
go.
back a couple
Episode
of
7.
times.
It's a sign. It's a
Oh
Yes,
yeah, it
thank
is
you.
a sign. Look at that. Look, and that's how God's signals work. Because I was just freestyling. Look at that. We are on episode 7. Didn't even notice that.
Wow.
So, so Samantha, where can your audience now? Samantha has her own podcast. Samantha is a holistic life coach, as we spoke on. So, if you are looking to get some coaching, or if you want to hear her on her podcast, where can they find you at?
Yeah, so I'm gonna give you all a link for those of you out there. You can just share the link with those who reach out, and it's for y'all to book a call with me. I like to be personal with people and let you know how I can help you and the things that I would like to do to serve you. And I also have a free gift that I would like to share for you all who reach out. So I'll send the link through you all, and whoever reach out can go to the link and schedule a call. As well, I have a website that's on construction, but I'll just let you know what it is so that when it's all complete, you can reach me there at as well, and that is www.samanthaa.org.
Woo, woo. All right. Now we like new things. So that means that she's walking in action. So
Yep.
I want to just go ahead and verify she is sending, meaning that we have it, meaning that we will be putting it in our in the description. So if you are
Mhm.
looking to reach out to Samantha, please do go down to the description and follow the link. And we thank you so much, Samantha A, for being here. You
Thank
can
you for
find
having me.
Yeah.
It's been such an honor.
Absolutely. It's been an honor. I'm going to have to come out to that podcast too. I know Chanel's been on there, but we're going to have to, make something happen.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
part 2 of this.
Yeah. All right. So we want to thank you all for watching another episode of Envision the Sweet Life podcast. You can follow us on TikTok at where, Chanel?
Envision Sweets Pod.
And then you can follow us on Instagram at Envision the Sweet Life Podcast. And personally, you can follow each of us, Envision Speak, on Instagram and TikTok. For me, Chanel Sweets. What about you, my love?
Chanel Sweets 4. It'll pop up if it's not that.
All right. And then what about you, my lovely guest star, Samantha A? Where can they find you at on the social media platforms?
Yeah, on most platforms, you can reach me at SA Integrity, at SA Integrity. Now, there's some of them, like I experimented with YouTube with Chanel the other day, and they put at SA Integrity, and it didn't come up. But
Mhm.
for the most part, if you put at SA Integrity, you should be able to find me.
All right, there it is.
Whatever platform.
Whatever platform it is. So once again, our audience, we want to have you here on our podcast as well. If you have any topics to let us know, please do go ahead and email us at Envision the Sweet Life podcast. Excuse me, what is our email address? I lied to you. Well, let us know on our actual social media platform.
EnvisionSweets@gmail.com.
Your girl had a brain fart for a second. EnvisionSweets@gmail.com. You can let us know of your topics. You can let us know if you want to be a guest star. You can pop up here on our call today and let us know in the chat box at any time that you want to join in, and we may feel free to click you on in. Once again, we want to thank you all for having a wonderful podcast. Samantha, once again, it is our great, sincere joy to have you as our first guest star. Man, you set the stage for anybody else coming on, I'll tell you. And we will see you all next time. Have a good one.
Bye.